The 5 chairs I saved might as well have been neon signs flashing, "You don't matter." Front row, perfect view, the university seal huge and gold behind the stage. Empty, 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 empty. My name was about to be called, and I was standing in a river of black gowns and square caps, holding flowers I'd bought for myself because no one else had thought to bring any. The degree I'd clawed toward for 5 years was finally within reach, and the people I loved most had chosen to be somewhere else. If you've ever had a moment like that, where the ones who should clap the loudest leave you standing in a silence they made, tell me where you're watching from. Tap like, hit subscribe. You're in good company here. My name is Nora Alvarez. I'm 35, a mom of 2, and as of that afternoon, a freshly minted MBA. I live in the suburbs west of Denver in a beige 4-bedroom with a patch of lawn that bakes all summer and disappears under snow come October. I've worked at Summit Crest Advisors, a mid-sized investment firm downtown, for 9 years, long enough to train men who now outrank me. I do the math cleanly, write reports that hold up under pressure, and smile at clients who accuse me of being the assistant while asking for my analysis. Credentials, Nora, my manager would say at reviews, tapping the air with his pen like a metronome. Everyone has a bachelor's. If you want senior titles, you'll need an MBA. I had 2 kids and a mortgage. I had a husband, Caleb, a software developer whose job let him come home at the same time every evening and whose parents lived 30 minutes up the interstate. I had a brother, Brandon, the son our parents orbited, and a younger sister, Talia, who lived in Phoenix and actually returned phone calls. I had a life that ran on a rigid schedule and a calendar crammed edge to edge. And I had this ache in my chest every time another promotion sailed past me like a train I wasn't allowed to board. So I enrolled at Front Range University's evening MBA program. 5 years if you went part-time. It's temporary, I told Caleb, telling myself too. 2 nights of class, 1 night of team projects. I'll study on weekends. It'll be brutal, but it's temporary. Temporary stretched like chewing gum. I woke at 5:15 to pack lunches and iron someone's shirt. I logged 8 to 10 hours at the office. On class nights, I ran red lights I shouldn't have to make it across town by 6. I sat under fluorescent bulbs absorbing lectures about leadership given by people who'd never had to lead children out the door with shoes on. I came home to plates in the sink and homework sheets that needed signatures and a husband who'd done his best and also sometimes not. Mom's always studying, Jaden, my 14-year-old, muttered once when he thought I couldn't hear, his voice cracking around the edges. She never hangs out anymore. It speared me, but I kept going. I kept telling myself, later, we'll breathe. Later, we'll go to Disney like Maya, our 11-year-old, keeps asking. Later, I'll have a title that means I don't have to keep justifying my seat at the table. My parents live in Santa Rosa, California. My mother's voice can make hello sound like a scolding. My father tells the same 3 stories about his high school glory days, as if repetition will harden them into legacy. They love me. They simply love my brother more. Brandon flips houses and flips people, too charming, easy, always tan, the kind of man who buys a boat because the lake is there. Our childhood was, frankly, a study in contrast. When he played football, my parents never missed a game. When I won the state economics competition, they sent a congratulatory text, "Good job. Don't forget sunscreen." As adults, they fly out to help Brandon choose backsplash tile, but when I asked if they could come babysit the kids during finals 3 years ago, my mother sighed and said, "Oh, Nora, you're so serious all the time. You need to learn to be more fun like your brother." It's strange how the things that make you dependable as a woman, responsibility, planning, the relentless competency, get turned into personality flaws the moment you ask to be seen. Caleb tried, at first. He covered dinners on class nights and took Jaden to practice and Maya to the orthodontist. He told me I could do it when I cried at 1 a.m. over a spreadsheet that wouldn't balance and a paper that wouldn't end. But endurance wears thin. After year 3, he started to say, "How much longer?" with a look that wasn't curiosity anymore. He began taking the kids to Saturday community events without even asking if I could come. You move away from each other without deciding to. It's a drift and then a cleaving. which is why the graduation mattered so much. It wasn't just the degree. It was the chance to gather the people who had sacrificed with me, who had eaten pizza 3 nights a week and missed me at bedtime, and say, this is what it was for. It was a day I wanted my children to see, not because pomp is thrilling, but because I wanted them to understand that women don't age out of ambition, that we're allowed to want more and to get it. 6 months before the ceremony, I requested 6 tickets: Caleb, the kids, my parents, and, if we could swing it, Talia. I booked my parents a room at the Horizon Suites downtown using points I'd hoarded from a conference in Dallas. I put a deposit at Cielo Trattoria, an Italian place with string lights and house-made pasta, for a post-ceremony dinner. I sent an email with the schedule, parking map, and arena entry instructions to everyone. We'll be there, Caleb promised, squeezing my hand. All of us. I'll make sure of it. It was the kind of promise spouses make casually without understanding they've just put their palm on the scale of your sanity. 2 months out, I bought a dress. Navy, structured, a thin lace panel at the neckline that made me feel like I had spent years doing something other than wrangling spreadsheets and children. When I tried it on, Maya said, "You look like those queens in the movies when they don't have to wear their crown anymore." I laughed and swallowed hard so I wouldn't cry on the mirror. 3 weeks before graduation, Brandon called. He remembered to check the date, specifically to tell me he was hosting his season kickoff at the lake house that very Saturday. I just got the outdoor kitchen finished, he said, buzzing with his own good fortune. We're christening the new boat. Huge smoker, live music. You should come by after your thing. Kids will go nuts. It's my graduation day, I said. I told you. Right, he breezed. But can you swing both? It's just a graduation. And Mom and Dad already committed. Aunt Lydia and Uncle Marco are flying in. I can't juggle all that. Change the date. I can't. Clients are in town that weekend, and you know how it is. He meant, how it is for me, Brandon. Not how it is for you. I phoned my mother immediately. He scheduled it on purpose, I said. You can't choose a barbecue over my graduation. Oh, sweetheart, she said in the tone she reserves for toddlers and telemarketers. We'll try to do both. You're so rigid about these things. It's just a ceremony. It's not just anything, I said. It's 5 years of my life. Well, don't make us feel guilty. There is a particular kind of helpless rage that comes when you're arguing with someone who insists your pain is a tone problem. That night, Caleb said what good men say when they don't want to fight with your family. They've always been like this, he soothed. But I promise, we'll be in the front row. Me and the kids. That's what counts. Promise me, I repeated, because the word felt like a lifeline. I promise. The week of graduation, Talia called. Chickenpox was mowing down her household like a tiny red storm. I tried, she said, sounding like she truly had. I booked the flight and then Asher spiked a fever. I'm so proud of you, Nora. FaceTime me from the stadium. I want to see a ridiculous hat. The day before the ceremony, my mother sent a carefully composed email that read like it had been rewritten 8 times by a committee of people terrified of being sued. They would be attending Brandon's event. They'd make it up to me with a special dinner when they visited in August. We'll raise a glass to our graduate, she wrote, and attached a gif of clinking champagne flutes, as if animations could plug a hole. That night, the house was quiet in the exhausted way of Fridays in May. Caleb flicked between a baseball game and his phone. He'd been texting more lately, and I'd decided precisely not to become the woman who polices her husband's screen time. I was stirring pasta when my phone rang. My mother. I answered with a sigh. Quick question, she chirped. Is Caleb still bringing the kids to Brandon's tomorrow? He told your brother he would, and Brandon reserved a lifeguard just for the cousins. The colander slipped in my hands. I'm sorry, what? Brandon said Caleb called to confirm. We wanted to make sure Maya brings a swimsuit. I bought her a sun. I looked up. Caleb was standing at the counter, tapping something on his screen like nothing in the world had shifted on its axis. I hung up and said, carefully, "Why does my mother think you're bringing our children to Brandon's party tomorrow?" He didn't look up. The kids heard the cousins were going and got excited. I figured you figured you'd take them and I'd, what? Walk across a stage by myself? They'll be bored out of their minds sitting for 3 hours, he said in the voice of a man who believes logic is a cure for betrayal. We can meet you at dinner and celebrate then. Or I go to the ceremony and drop them at Brandon's after. This isn't a negotiation, I said. This is a moment. One I asked you to show up for. Don't be dramatic, Nora. It's a graduation. There it was again. Just. It's just. We argued through dinner over dishes in whispers upstairs. In the hallway, our son and daughter stood like two stunned deer caught between headlights. Predictably, Jaden sided with fun. Why can't we go to the lake? It's not like your graduation is for us. Maya's lower lip trembled. She hated choosing sides. Caleb said the words I will never scrub out of my memory. Let them decide. As if leadership is a popularity contest. As if values should be arranged by which choice comes with a waterslide. I went to bed in my navy dress hanging from the closet like a blue flag. Caleb slept on the couch. At 3 a.m., I rolled over and stared at the mocking shape of the cap on the dresser, and at 6, I forced myself upright because if I didn't, I wouldn't at all. The house was empty when I came downstairs, no cartoons, no cereal bowls, no squabbling over who got the last cinnamon roll. On the counter, a note. Took the kids up early to help Brandon set up. We'll try to make it back for the ceremony. Congrats. A word that should have felt warm went through me like ice. I kept going. Hair at 10, makeup at 11. The stylist made generic small talk. The makeup artist airbrushed over the puffiness of a woman who'd cried herself to sleep. Back home, I zipped the dress, tugged on the gown, set the square cap on my head, and snapped a selfie because if no one else would document this, I would. I posted it with 3 sentences about perseverance and a smile that looked almost real. I texted Caleb, heading to the arena. Are you on your way? A minute later, might be late. Jaden took a spill. He's okay. Save us seats? There were no seats to save. And he knew that. I didn't reply. Front Range's arena is a small bowl of blue plastic chairs and bad acoustics. I checked in, pinned my card with my legal name to my gown, and filed into line with my cohort. People clustered with their families, arms around shoulders, bouquets in fists, toddlers on hips. I scanned the crowd where our Rose families would sit because Hope has a sick sense of humor. 5 empty chairs looked back at me like open mouths. Speeches. Pomp. Promises. The university president said something about resilience and community. The alum who'd started a company talked about finding your why and work-life harmony, and I wanted to stand up and ask, does harmony include crying in the bathroom at 1 a.m. while you type with one hand and hold a feverish child with the other? Then, Nora, the announcer, mangled my last name. Whatever. Close enough. I walked. I took the handshake. I took the diploma case that contained no diploma, just a placeholder for the real thing coming in the mail in 6 to 8 weeks. I moved my tassel in a crowd of other tassels and listened to polite applause that belonged to no one in particular and everyone at once. I sat. My heart turned into something heavy and smooth, not broken, polished by disappointment until it gleamed with a nasty little resolve. When it was over, caps flew and families poured out to the sunlit lawn to take pictures against a backdrop of mountains and bricks. I drifted along the edges, smiled for classmates I'd done late-night projects with, and kept my eyes away from other people's hugging mothers. I checked my phone out of habit. No, we're outside. No, we're here. But there was a new post from Brandon, a boomerang of champagne popping in front of his lake view, Jaden in the background with his shirt off, hair wet, his grin wide. Maya on the dock in a yellow suit. My parents raised solo cups to the camera. The caption, kicking off the season right through me. I walked to a quiet corner behind the science building and finally let the sound out. Not gentle tears. The ugly kind. I cried until my body shook and my makeup streaked and the stupid square cap tilted sideways like the world itself. When I could breathe, I pulled up Cielo Trattoria and canceled the reservation. The hostess sounded genuinely sorry and I blinked because even a stranger's small empathy can trip your heart when you're starved for it. Then my phone lit like a slot machine. Urgent. Call me. Call me now. 45 missed calls, all from Caleb in the last hour. 45. There's a number that makes your bones go hollow. I called. He picked up immediately. Nora? Oh, thank God. I've been trying. What happened? It's Jaden. He fell off the slide. He's okay, but his arm, we're at St. Augustine Medical. My feet were moving before my brain finished hearing. I'm on my way. He's been asking for you, Caleb said, and a part of me that was still crying on a lawn somewhere clenched at the irony. The hospital was 15 minutes from campus. I did it in 12, flung the car into a spot by the ER, and wove through plastic chairs and antiseptic until I found Bay 9. My son lay pale and glassy-eyed, his right arm cradled across his chest in a foam splint, our daughter hovering with wide eyes. My parents stood at the foot of the bed like an audience that had finally found its seats. Brandon was there too, hands shoved in his pockets, suddenly small. Mom, Jaden said, relief flooding his face. He smelled like chlorine and salt tears and still a kid. I'm here, I said, tucking damp hair off his forehead. Tell me everything. The doctor, Ramirez, 40-ish, kind eyes, pointed at the x-ray. A clean fracture of the radius. No displacement. He'll be in a cast for 6 weeks, but he'll heal well. Brave kid, my father said, in the doting tone he had saved for touchdowns and, apparently, medical emergencies. Thank God you got here, Brandon added, trying on sincerity like a shirt. He kept asking for you. Thank God I got here, I repeated, my voice so calm it scared me. Given I just graduated. Alone. Silence snapped down like a lid. Caleb shot me a warning look, the kind that says, now? But rage has its own schedule. I spent 5 years climbing a mountain, I said evenly, keeping my eyes on Jaden so I wouldn't ignite every bridge in the room, and at the top, there were 5 empty chairs, because a party was more important. Nora, my father said, this isn't the time. It never is. I smiled at my son. Buddy, we're going to get you the coolest cast Denver has ever seen. The nurse arrived to wheel Jaden for casting. I'll go with him, I said, because I needed to leave before all the words I had been collecting devoured the air. In the hallway, Jaden's voice was small. I'm sorry I didn't come to your thing, Mom. I wanted to go to the party and Dad said it was okay. Adults made those decisions. I swallowed. It wasn't your job to choose right. That's our job. But you're sad. I am, I said, because there are moments you owe your kid the truth. And I'm proud. Both can be true at once. His eyes softened. I'm proud of you too, he said. Even if I didn't see it. It cracked something hard inside me. I kissed his temple and walked beside him while they wrapped his arm in blue fiberglass, signing my name in my head because he'd want me to be the first. Back at Bay 9, our families had reassembled like a chorus line. Caleb handed me the discharge papers. He'd already picked up the prescription. We can take him home. He'll need to keep the arm elevated and I'll take him, I said. We'll come by, my mother offered. Help you get settled. No, I said, amazed at the novelty of the word on my tongue. Thank you, but no. We need space. But we were planning to stay over, my father sputtered. We can rearrange, you already rearranged, I said gently. We'll talk another day. On the drive home, Jaden drowsed in the back seat. Maya's head leaned on his shoulder, and Caleb drove with his hands at 10 and 2 like a student trying to pass a test. He looked older than he had last week. Or maybe I was seeing clearly for the first time. At home, I tucked Jaden on the couch, built him a mountain of pillows, propped his cast on a stack of folded blankets, queued up his favorite show. Maya disappeared upstairs to draw on a blank card to tape to her brother's cast later. Caleb stood in the kitchen doorway like a man about to walk onto a stage he didn't want to be on. I'm going to change, I said. Then we talk. In my room, I took off the dress that had been haunted since dawn and hung it gently in the back of the closet like a flag you fold when the parade is over. I washed my face, wiped mascara tracks, looked myself in the eye. 35, MBA, mother, woman who will not shatter for other people's convenience. I went downstairs. I messed up, Caleb said before I could speak. I messed up badly. Yes. I didn't soften it. Yes, you did. I thought. He rubbed his neck. I thought they'd be happier at the lake, and we could meet you after, and it would all even out. I didn't realize. How could you not realize? I asked. I have talked about this for months. I begged you to be there. I was trying to juggle. I've been juggling a lot while you were in class, so have I said quietly. We've both juggled. The difference is, if this had been your promotion ceremony, I would have stood up in the middle of a funeral to clap for you. He flinched. He knows me. He knows that's true. What do you want me to do? He asked finally, his voice worn down to its honest grain. Tell me how to make this right. You don't fix this tonight, I said. I'm booking myself into the Horizon Suites for a week. His eyes widened. I need quiet. I need to think. I will FaceTime the kids every day. I'll come if anything changes with Jaden. But I cannot be everyone's mother and everyone's forgiveness all at once. He opened his mouth to argue and closed it. Okay, he said, maybe for the first time in our marriage actually listening. The doorbell rang. I braced myself for my mother, but it was Linda from work, holding a casserole and a gift bag. You didn't answer my text, she said, squeezing me. So I'm here with lasagna and enough garlic bread to feed a colt. And she handed me the bag, a leather portfolio from all of us. MBA Nora engraved. We are stupid proud of you. My eyes filled. It's extraordinary how a simple, clean, we see you can land when you've been starving for it. Linda chatted with the kids, set plates, texted her husband that she'd be late, and pretended not to hear the strain in the kitchen when Caleb and I said the kind of sentences people say when the shape of their lives is shifting. After dinner, I told the kids gently that I'd be at a hotel for a week, that it wasn't because of Jaden's arm, that sometimes grown-ups need quiet to think well. Maya's mouth trembled, then she straightened and said, Can I call you every night? Jaden nodded, stoic and small. I checked into Horizon the next morning with a single carry-on, the check-in clerk offering me a free breakfast voucher because, I suspect, my face still told a story. The room was nothing fancy, beige carpet and a view of a parking garage, but it was quiet. The silence didn't judge me. I sat on the edge of the bed and felt something unclench. For a week, I did things slowly. I walked the Cherry Creek Trail until the ache in my legs drowned out the noise in my head. I ate takeout in bed. I called Jaden to ask him to show me the latest markers his friends had scribbled on his cast. I met Maya for lunch at school and let her pick everything from the cafeteria because she said, it'll feel like a date. I answered my mother's voicemails when I felt like it and let the others sit unplayed. Caleb called each night. The first two, he tried to fix it with words. The third, he didn't. He said, How are you? And he listened. On day 5, my manager called to say the senior analyst position was mine if I wanted it. Officially contingent on the paperwork, he said, but unofficially welcome. I said yes, and then sat very still and let that settle. Not the title, my decision to say yes without apologizing for wanting it. By the end of the week, I'd assembled, on paper, what I needed if I went back. Not demands, terms. Actual partnership. Division of labor. A budget line for a house cleaner twice a month. A rule. Family milestones are sacred, whether they're soccer championships or graduations or the 40th day, in a row you put dinner on the table. My parents would get different access to me. Brandon would get exactly the amount I chose to give. I would stop asking to be valued and start behaving like I already was. When I came home, Caleb met me on the porch like a man approaching a verdict. The house was unusually tidy, which meant he'd hired help that, at least, spoke of humility. We sat at the kitchen table, the place where we've made every plan that mattered. I've been a coward, he said. No preamble. I let your family's patterns make choices for me. I let the kids' short-term fun trump your long-term work. I took you for granted. I don't want a confession, I said. I want a plan. Then here's mine. He pulled out a notepad. We hire a cleaner twice a month. We sit down every Sunday and split the week's kid duties. I take the mental load of appointments and forms for the next 2 months, minimum. And he swallowed, I start therapy. I realized this week I wasn't just being lazy. I was scared that you'd surpass me and I'd be left behind. I hadn't expected that sentence. It didn't excuse. It explained. Okay, I said. And I have changes too. I'm taking the senior analyst role. It will be more hours sometimes. That's not a sacrifice I make alone. It's an investment we all live with. We'll live with it, he said. I will live with it. When the kids got home, we had a family meeting, not the performative kind where adults talk and children nod, but the practical kind. We made lists. Jaden, as soon as his cast came off, claimed lawn duty. Maya volunteered laundry sorting. We built a calendar visible to everyone. I put a sticky note at eye level that said, "We show up." Then I invited my parents over alone because I've learned not to stack battles. They came with a bouquet and a card that had a check inside for a sum that made my eyebrows jump. "We want to help you celebrate," my mother said brightly, as if money were a substitute for presents. I slid the check back across the table. "I'm not angry you chose Brandon's party," I said. "I'm angry you've spent my whole life choosing him. I don't need a gift. I need you to notice." My father opened his mouth, closed it, and said, to his credit, "Tell us how." "Next time I invite you to something," I said, "don't ask, 'Can we do both?' Ask, 'How can we be there for you?' If you can't come, say so plainly and accept the consequence, less access. I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting me." They blinked, the way people do when familiar furniture has been moved in the middle of the night. My mother touched my wrist. "We thought you didn't need us," she said softly, and there was such bewilderment in it that I almost laughed. Rather than argue, I said, "I'll tell you when I do. And I'll expect you to come." Brandon came by a few days later with an arrangement that probably cost more than my first car and a sheepish look. "I'm an ass," he said, standing with his hands behind his back like a schoolboy. "I scheduled my party on your day and acted like you were the problem. I'm sorry." "Okay," I said, because I don't hand out forgiveness like candy anymore. And I planned something for you." He handed me an envelope. Inside, an invite to a small gathering at his lake house. No clients, no fireworks. Just a dinner in my honor, our parents, Talia on FaceTime, a few friends if I wanted. "No speeches," he said. "Unless you want one. I'll write the least obnoxious toast of my life." The dinner was, to my surprise, lovely. Brandon grilled steaks without turning the tongs into a baton. My mother cried at the right time. My father hugged me long enough for his cologne to stick. There was a cake with Front Range's colors iced into tiny mountain peaks. Talia's face on the iPad glowed from a kitchen in Phoenix, a baby streaking past in the background, and she raised a mug of tea like it was champagne. We took photos, real ones I printed later and slid into a frame. Life didn't become a movie after that. Patterns don't dissolve just because you declare new rules. But things shifted. Jaden's cast became a yearbook of color, friends' names turning the fiberglass into a story. Maya reminded me about my own boundaries when I started to slip, tapping the "We Show Up" sticky note with a grin. Caleb set up my diploma in a frame and hung it above my desk without asking where I wanted it. He made a decision that said, "This matters," and he was right. At work, I moved into an office with a door, my name etched on frosted glass, and I shut it sometimes not to shut people out, but to make space for things that hadn't fit before. A month later, Brandon's social media showed him christening the boat, again, and a younger version of me would have felt the old tug toward the son he thought he was. I didn't. I was busy that Saturday teaching Maya how to make arroz con pollo the way my abuela taught me, showing Jaden how to button a shirt one-handed for a school dance. In the evening, Caleb and I sat on the step and watched a thunderstorm roll along the Front Range like a dragon, lightning lifting in sheets. He slid his hand into mine. We didn't talk. We just watched the sky doing what it does, clearing itself. Here's what I learned the day 5 chairs made a fist in my chest. Your worth isn't a vote. Your milestones count even if the people you love act like they don't. You can demand respect without dynamiting your life. You can leave for a week and come back with a map. Sometimes a broken arm becomes a strange gift because it forces a family into one room where truths can't hide behind lake water and smoke. Sometimes the only way to change a pattern is to say the line out loud, "No, if you're still here, listening, thank you." Tell me in the comments if you've ever had to draw a line with the people who assumed you'd never draw one. What did it cost? What did it save? Like this video if it hit a nerve. Subscribe if you want more stories that don't flinch from the messy parts, because that's where the good stuff hides. And if no one told you this week, your work counts. Your degree, your certification, your promotion, your clean credit report, your sobriety chip, your first solo rent check, your night school certificate. whatever it is. Hang it on the wall. Buy your own flowers if you need to. Toss your cap in the air on a random Tuesday. Celebrate out loud. Sometimes you have to be your own front row.